Yeah, I was like,
Oh,
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 there we are.
hey everyone, we are live. We were having some issues getting in on you to you guys for our lunch bite. Y'all, this is a lunch bite from in the car. I am getting ready to pick up my son. The beauties of, if you don't see his little head back there, um, the beauties of getting to be a work from home entrepreneur. So, this is LaDondra and Dawn with LaDondraHervey.com, and we're talking about how people pleasing is hindering your sales. And so when we think about this, what is people pleasing? People pleasing is those things where you're trying to make everybody else feel good, and you're trying to make everybody else feel comfortable. And I think that, people pleasing, it has its place, but then when it's used negatively, then it negatively affects your sales and your growth as an entrepreneur. And the reason why I bring this up, and we're bringing this up today, is because over the years, this has been one of the major things that I've seen when it comes to coaching women entrepreneurs. And we are wanting to make everyone feel comfortable. We're wanting to make everybody, I guess the word I want to say is just feel comfortable and to please everybody. And that's not how marketing works in entrepreneurship. We were called to serve a specific audience. We were called to serve our divine assignment. God has given us a divine assignment, divine authority to help and serve a certain special group of people unlike anybody else. And so it is our job to be obedient to the call and the mandate of God, and what's on our life, and He should be our first priority. So when we're thinking about people pleasing, first we need to be pressing in to be a God pleaser, not a people pleaser.
Mm.
And so the many times we find ourselves in this place of trying to make everybody else comfortable, like I said, but have we stopped to assess, are we in a position to be performing? I would say, I guess I'll use that word, performing for an audience of one. Are we in this for the audience of one? That is our Father God and what He's assigned for us to do in the time and in the season that we have. And so, I'm gonna just pause right there because I've said a mouthful there, and I'm gonna let Coach Don come in. We do have a delay, and for those of you, like I mentioned, I am driving, coming and picking up my son, but we're talking about people pleasing. So, Coach Don, I'll let you jump in.
Yeah, it's so interesting, LaDondra, that I don't know. I feel like women have such a harder time with this than men. And guys just go out and they do their thing. And as women operating Kingdom Enterprises, we're always concerned about others. We're a lot of others focused, which is not a bad thing until it becomes pleasing, people pleasing. When you get into that mode, then it's not healthy. It's not healthy for you. It's not healthy for your business, because you're potentially out there acting as if you're someone else that you're really not. You're not acting in your, authority, in your authentic self. And I see a lot of people getting really being afraid to niche down. Like you said, the fear of niching down is one of the things that comes to mind. And when we are afraid to niche down, it's because they're afraid to step into the authority of being the expert in their field, and specializing in what they're good at, what they have had their experience with, and what they know. And a lot of times we hear people, our clients specifically in the Woke Next Level program, they talk about, well, if I can help everyone, right? I can help everyone, and I don't want to put anyone out. I don't want to leave anyone out. Well, that is a typical people pleasing behavior because we're afraid to hone in on, like you said, Coach Ladondra, who is our divine assignment? Who are we here? Who are we called to serve? And so when you're just being a generalist like that, just wanting to help everyone, then really you're speaking to no one. You're speaking to everyone, but you're speaking to no one. And I want to say that the example I want to share is really specific. And so when we're in spring, it's March, the flowers are blooming, and love is in the air. And so there's going to be a lot of, like, this is engagement season. And so think about when you're going to buy an engagement ring or you're going to look for an engagement ring. Are you going to, and nothing wrong with either one of these places, but are you going to want a ring from Walmart, or are you going to want a ring from Tiffany and Company? Right? Tiffany and Company is known for engagement rings. They have the little blue box, and they are very specific. In fact, on their website, I want to read this because it was really telling when I read this. It says, in 1886, Tiffany introduced the engagement ring as we know it today. We're proud to build on our legacy as the leader in diamond traceability with responsibly sourced, expertly crafted diamond rings that celebrate love in all its forms. Y'all, that is specific. That is so specific. You know what they are a stand for. You know that since 1886, engagement rings, Tiffany and Company, that's synonymous. They're not trying to serve anyone and everyone like Amazon. They are specific to this product. And so that's what we want our people to be known for as well. Like when you think of, you know, when you think of you, as when your clients think of you, what do you want to be known for? What do you want to specialize as? Coach Ladondra, what are your thoughts? I'm going to throw it back to you on that one.
Yeah, I love that. First and foremost, hello to whoever's saying hi. I think this may be Misha, and I will let Caleb know you said hi. So the thing is that I love that you pointed out that specific example in how when you niche down to, or you specialize, it's not even just about niching. Because see, let me help you out, and let me break this down just a little bit for those of you who are listening. So your niche is, maybe you have just said, okay, I am going to focus on helping women entrepreneurs, right? You got a general, you've segmented the market in a general way. But if you want to specialize, you're gonna segment the market in a way to where it is specific. That's where specializing come in. It's specific to a problem, or a specific way of thinking, or a specific group of people. So instead of it just being women, it's busy single moms who struggle with this specific problem, and your service is going to help them overcome that. And so when you're that specific, you can cater your services, your products, and your messaging, all of that, to that particular client. Just as Coach Don talked about, you move from being a Walmart person to a Tiffany person, to where you create a packaged experience that speaks directly to your ideal client or your specialized target market. And a lot of times we're like, oh, okay, they won't pay me for my service. Well, if you're so general like Walmart, you're competing with other Walmart brands, and you're competing on price, you're competing on general type things. Versus if you make that decision and say, you know what, I'm not going to be a people pleaser, I'm going to be a God pleaser, I'm going to step into my divine assignment, and I'm going to take authority and rule over the people that I've been called to serve. And so with that being said, there is something very specific that they're needing, and it needs to be packaged up in a way that they resonate with. And with that being said, it positions me, my business, as the solution that is undisputed in the marketplace, where it's like it's a no-brainer to invest in my product, my service, and the things that I'm offering of value to help that particular client. And so now you move from into a different position in a different realm, because you're not competing on general things. You're competing on what only you can specialize in. And so what I found is that a lot of the women entrepreneurs, we want to to just break it down even further. It's like there's some specific people that we've been called to serve. Let me just and so with that being said, I used this in a training that I did yesterday for our woke insiders group, and I was talking about there's some things that's unique to you. Like, it could be your cultural background, it could be your ethnicity, it could be your gender and your educational background, it could be all kinds of, it could be your story, it could be all kinds of things, right? But the thing about it is that, like I was sharing in that particular training, say for instance you speak to Indian women, right? And so you have a cultural background as an Indian woman, and you are wanting to help her to overcome something that only another Indian woman would understand. The cool part about that is now you've literally set yourself apart from thousands of other people in the marketplace, because look how specific that is. I now you've become referable. So when you pitch to me, I can easily identify an Indian woman who's struggling with whatever business situation that you help them with. And so now it helps you to step into a position where you're not spending time and money in the wrong places, doing the wrong things, serving the wrong people, and feeling like overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, nobody's paying attention. Really, they're not, because it's so much noise. You've gotten caught up in saturation. But when you specialize, you set yourself apart from the saturation, and you're focused on Indian women who are trying to start up in the startup phase of their business, and you have a specific skill set and background that will serve them. Now, like, it becomes a lot easier, and you move from struggling and being in a place of strife, and you again set yourself apart. But a lot of times we don't want to do that, and that's where the people pleasing come in, because oh my gosh, what are they going to think about me if I'm talking only to the Indian women? Oh my gosh, like, what about my black friends? What are they going to say about me? Or oh my gosh, what about my white friend? It doesn't matter, because here's the thing: who have you been given this divine assignment over? Who have you been given the divine assignment over? Now, if your message speaks to them, anybody else, so you're going to make the Indian women your priority, but that message may speak to a lot of other people. It may speak to your black sister, it may speak to your Caucasian sister, it may speak to, but that's not where you're going to focus your time and your attention. And you have to be okay with that, because the thing about that is, again, that's where you're going to pull in your people. That's where you're going to really be able to specialize, and on and on and on. So I just wanted to say that. That's why I said, don't be a people pleaser, be a God pleaser. And once you stepped in that position of where you're a God pleaser, then you can come back, because there's a healthy people pleaser. Now you can start to position things in a way to where you're pleasing the people who you have divine assignment over, and you're creating offers that actually provide value to alleviate a pain or problem or whatever, a stress point or whatever it is. You're creating a healthy, pleasing environment that's serving your divine target audience. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? It's so funny that as you're talking about all that, Coach Ladondra, it reminds me I was following this lady, phenomenal lady. Her messaging was on point, but her message, you remember her messaging, she was the happy black woman. I'm like, I want to be a happy black woman. But everything that she said was just amazing, and it really struck a chord with me. Was I her ideal target audience who she niched down to speak to? No, but I still followed her and I was learning from her. So don't be afraid that you're going to alienate the other people. They're going to come to you if your messaging is on point and you know who you're serving. So I love that example because I'm like,
I do too.
I want
She
to be
brought
that.
that to me, you guys, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm following this happy black woman. I love what she's putting out." But it was so cool because she really was following this lady because it was about the value that that lady was providing, and so Dawn could associate with the value, and that's the same that's true for you guys, and that's why it's so important to not be a people pleaser. That lady was being a God pleaser, and it was attracting the others to her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, moving on to our next point, Coach LaDonna, we're talking, when you talk to everyone, you talk to no one. I kind of mentioned that before, and it
Mhm.
confuses your priority market. So, tell us more on your thoughts about that one. Oh, you're taking a drink. I'll go. Okay. So, my point on this one, it's so funny because I like to bring it into what I can relate to. And I think about like when you're going, let's say you're in a huge audience, right? And there's a massive prize to be won. Okay. And the person on stage is like, hey, you, this is for you. Come and get it. And everybody's looking around like, is it me? Are they talking to me? Like, I want to win that, but who's he talking to? They're just like, hey, you, right? You want to be the one that wins the prize, right? It's a massive amount. Like, it's the price is right. You're getting the whole shebang. Okay. But you don't know who they're talking to. It's the same with your audience. If you're just like, hey, you, I can help you, that's not going to work, right? Because they're like, well, who's she talking to? But if in that same audience, they're calling you out and they're like, the lady with the brown hair and the green shirt, and she has a peacock feather coming out of her hat. Oh, that's me. I won, right?
Yes.
And you know exactly who you are when they call you out specifically. That's what you want to do with your target audience. You want to get so specific that that woman says, oh my gosh, she gets me. She knows me. She feels me. She understands me. I need to go work with her because she's been where I've been and she's talking directly to me so she knows what I'm going through and she can help me get to the other side of that. But if you're just talking in generalities, people, there's a million other people that they can be listening to besides you, sis. You got to narrow it down.
Yes, that's powerful. I'm glad you went first. Let me get another drink of water. That was good. Because the truth is like I love how specific you were. And when you're that specific, like Coach Don was just saying, then literally your target audience is like, oh yeah, that's me. And what happens is you connect with them on an emotional level. And see, people don't buy just on based on fact. They buy based on emotion and then they rationalize with fact. And so the thing is when you've gotten so clear on your specialty, now you're able to go down so deep that you're connecting with them on an emotional level. Now they feel seen, heard, and affirmed or validated. And so it's like you again you are that undisputed choice to for them to work with because it's like she's walked the path that I'm currently walking and she has the solution to get me to the desire that I'm wanting the desired place that I want to get to. And she wouldn't have known that though if you wouldn't have called her out with the peacock hat on or with whatever other attributes that she had or thoughts that she's thinking or struggles that she's going through. And so it's so important for us to own it, to niche down and to own it. And so what I find is that we have it, we have that inclination, but we won't own it. Bible tells us to take dominion. And so to take dominion, that means we're going to take ownership of the territory that we've been given divine rule over. And so we're going to step into that thing and we're going to, which is that assignment, and we're going to serve fully. When I was in Deuteronomy for so many, like God had me stuck there for months. And what happened was is in that place, like the Lord was preparing them to enter into the promised land. And before he prepared them to enter into the promised land, he marked out borders for each tribe to step into. And as he marked out those borders, he talked about what was on that land. Some of those land, it had gold, some had corn, some had this, some had that. And the same, when you look at that, the same is true for us. And when we look at that, our borders are our blessing. A lot of times we look at it from a place of that our borders are a something that is restricting, and it's going to cause people not to buy from us, but actually it's a blessing that it where we're able to people are able to identify what we have to offer, the gold that we have to offer, and we get known for that gold. And so now we're, instead of us being all over the place and people don't understand what we're doing, we really get to see that marked out territory that the Lord has for us. It is literally a blessing for others. That's why when you really look at this, people are traveling. Even back in the day, people were traveling across the world for spices and for this and for that, because that was the only place or territory that had that. So they could have been looking at it as this is a bad restriction, but guess what it did is it attracted people from around the world to come and seek them out for those specific spices or whatever, oils or whatever it was that they had to offer. You want to be that person, sis. You want to come down so deep and specialize so deep, and you want to look at those as those restrictions, those borders, as blessings, because that's exactly what they are. Coach Don.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Our borders are a blessing. Absolutely. There's a lot of times, especially for me in my past, I'm like, oh, following God or following his rules is too restrictive, right? I just want to go have fun, right? But we can have fun, but within our borders, right? And that helps us to get specialized and get known for that thing. You are the expert of that, right? Or you have been anointed with the crops, that yield that spice or that corn or that oil or whatever. And so it's like you have been gifted. Again, your calling, that's your calling to be the person to provide that thing, that product, that service, so that people seek you out. And I love, our give a shout out like you did before. So I want to shout out to Claire is here and Tabitha is here. And, we've worked with Tabitha to help her narrow down her niche. And it was interesting because, Coach Ladondra had a divine download on that, and I questioned it, and Tabitha questioned it, and we're like, no, this is what it is. This is what we're supposed to be doing. And it just when you hone in on that and you get very specific, then it just and you're like, and you take it before the Lord. You're like, is this what you want me to do? And he's like, yeah, this is it. This is it. And it's going to be good. These borders, they're going to be good for you and your business. So I love it. I love it. So let's bring it home, girl. We're at 22 minutes. I know we're trying to keep to a time. So the third way that you can become a people pleaser, and it's going to kind of prevent you from getting the sales growth that you're wanting, is that nasty imposter syndrome. Oh, that's the one thing that we just like, it gets us every time, right? So Ladondra, tell us about how they can kind of come out of that imposter syndrome when it, relates to demographics, psychographics, the problems that they're solving. Give us your thoughts on that.
I want to say this. This wasn't planned. So I was listening to a interview last night on YouTube, and kind of getting some of the background story of a rapper. His name is Nipsey Hussle. He's no longer with us, and very intelligent, very very intelligent, and he was being interviewed by Eric Dyson, who intellectual as well. And the thing about that is he asked Nipsey Hussle some questions about his journey. And that it was another lady on there, I can't remember her name, but they were asking him some questions, and one of the questions on there was how do he stay authentic to his music and his journey and all of that. And one of the things that he said is he was saying that when he was in the streets, And because that was his only way of surviving when he was in the streets and he was hustling, selling drugs, and surviving. He That was the thing that he would rap about. That was his what he was speaking his poetry about, and all of that. It was where he was creating his art from. He was staying true to where he was, and he said that if in that time he would have started to talk about building businesses and he didn't have a business, then he would have been not true to himself. He wouldn't have been an authentic expression to himself and to the audience that he was being um, called to serve at that time and in that season. And so when we think about imposter syndrome, I love that because, if he would have been trying to show up and be something that he wasn't, he would have literally been an imposter. And so many times we want to hide our story out of shame, and we want to hide the those special characteristics about ourselves, our culture, our background, our the way we think, the education and how we grew up, and all the things. We want to hide that, but really, that's what helps us to show up authentically, to serve our clients in the way that they need to be served. It helps us to narrow in that niche to a specialty, to where you get known for that thing in that season. And so when I think about imposter syndrome, I think about us making sure to stay true to who we are, and where we are in that season, as we are authentically growing and becoming the woman that God is has purpose for us to be, because purpose is where we are right now in the time and in the season. And so many times we're trying to jump out of that time and in that season and start marketing things of, oh, how to build a six-figure business. Ma'am, have you even got there yourself? Is that true to you? But instead of saying that, perhaps you can say, what are some of the mindsets and the beliefs? You've mastered mindset and beliefs, and so now you can start to help people to master that in that area. So sometimes imposter syndrome shows up to show us something about ourselves, where maybe we're trying to be in a lane that we're not supposed to be, or we're trying to specialize, well, trying to talk to a audience that we wasn't called to serve. We're making somebody else's assignment our assignment. And so now we're seeing imposter syndrome. And I believe that imposter syndrome, a lot of people talk about it in a negative connotation, but I believe that sometimes it shows up to give us information, information that will let us know where we are and where we can refine, where opportunities to refine our message, refine our market, refine our position, refine the things that need to be, and recreate something that is true and authentic to us and who God has called us to be in that time and in that season. And then being willing to grow as you go. And so like what I gave with the example with Nipsey, he was in the streets. He was rapping about the streets when he was in business, and he no longer had to do that. He was out of survival mode. He got to start to rap about something different and serve his audience there. And so be where you are and be willing to grow into that. And when those imposter syndromes show up and you're in your divine lane, now you got to bring that under the authority of the Holy Spirit and cast down those lies and say, you know what? I know that I've been called to this. I know that these are my divine assignment. I know this is where I'm supposed to be specializing in this time and in this season. So I rebuke you, Satan, in the name of Jesus Christ. I'm not giving you a foothold in my business. I'm not giving you a foothold in my life or anything like that. And then move on, sis. A lot of times we want to be stuck. Move on. Keep moving. If God didn't tell you to stop, move on. All right, Coach Don.
Yes, I love that. And something you said in there brought up a different perspective that I'm going to share, and then we can wrap it up. But when you show up authentically and you have experiences like that one rapper, and just whatever your experience is, we've all been broken in some kind of way or another. But when you show up authentically and you're willing to share your victory story, right? You may be just one or two steps ahead of somebody else, but you have a victory story that they don't have yet. You can help them heal. And that brings me to James 5:16. It says, confess your sins to one another and pray for each other so that you may be healed, right? If you are not stepping forward in your authentic self, leaving that imposter syndrome behind, who are you helping to heal by being
Mm.
a fake, by being a phony, right? You're not helping them heal because you haven't healed yourself because you're trying to be someone you're not yet. Stand
Mhm.
in your authority where you're at, right? So that you can share your healing that you've been through. You may not be 100% on the other side of it. I don't know if we ever are on the 100% on the other side until we go to heaven, right? But you're ahead of the other person that you can turn back, reach your hand out and say, you know what, sis, I've been there. I've been through that, and I'm going to show up authentically. And when they hear your authentic story and can connect and go, oh my gosh, she went through the same thing I went through. And I've had so much shame around that for so long. But
Mhm.
look, she's sharing it and she's free. And now
Mhm.
people are flocking to her for advice, for healing, for all those things. So share your story because authentically, because that's what people need to hear in order to heal and move forward with their life, with their business, to be in that expert position that people are going to seek out. Then they are going to pay it forward and heal the next person in line. So that's what I've got on that one, Coach Ladondra.
That's some good stuff. Woo! I hope y'all were blessed by this. We try to be really intentional about the topics that we bring to you all for lunch bite. We want your lunch bite to be juicy and yummy and relevant to where you are. Our one of our culture codes is to be raw, real, and authentic. And so we want to show up and be raw, real, and authentically express our truth and who we've been divinely assigned to, and bring you relevant knowledge and wisdom that you can use to transform in your journey. So, if this has been a blessing to you, share this group. If you're in the private Facebook group, if you're not in the private Facebook group, invite a friend. You come on over, answer the 3 questions, and bring a friend with you, because we're going to be getting ready to do some training coming up, going deeper in next month, and it's only going to be hosted in the private Facebook group, so be ready and on the lookout for that. And other than that, we're about to get ready to go deeper on this topic in our Woke Next Level, which is about to happen here in just a moment. So, for those of you who are in our Woke Next Level program, go ahead and get ready because we're about to go deep. And then for the others of you, if you're interested in going deeper and you're wanting someone to help you to specialize in your business and to get past the trash and to rise up into your divine position, send us a DM and say, I'm ready to go to the next level. And we'll give you the information that you need to set up a call with us, and then we'll just take things further to see if it's a fit for you in this time and in this season. All right, sis, you be blessed. Bye.